Shalom, all praise, honor, and glory goes to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, double honors to my apostles and elders at Great Millstone, and honors to all you fellow laborers that are enduring afflictions to bring out this word in sincerity and in faith. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'akwadash Rakah, Barakathum, to all you listeners. Okay, so I'm going to go into a lesson based off of this article I came across. The world's richest 1% bagged 82% of global wealth in 2017, while poorest half got nothing. It's from Oxfam. Okay, what was quoted from Oxfam in this article is from Russia Today. So I'm gonna start right here on Proverbs, the 22nd chapter, Proverbs 22:7. The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. And that's it. That's what you can clearly see, that the rich rules over the poor. All right, so it says the inequality crisis is worsening according to a new study by global charity Oxfam, which found that the world's richest 42 people own the same amount of wealth as the poorest 50% worldwide. The annual report showed that 2017 saw the biggest increase in the number of billionaires in history, with new ones created at a rate of one every 2 days. Their wealth has increased by 13% a year on average in the decade from 2006 to 2015. You know, it's showing these motherfuckers balling, you know, doing the most. The fortunes of the super rich increased by 762 billion in just 12 months to March 2017, which is enough to end extreme poverty 7 times over. 9 out of 10 of the world's 2,043 billionaires were men, and so-called white men. 82% of the new wealth created has gone to the top 1%, while 0% has gone to the world's poorest 50%, said the report. According to Mark Goldring, chief executive of Oxfam, which sounds like a so-called Jew, the statistics signal that something is very wrong with the global economy. The concentration of extreme wealth at the top is not a sign of a thriving economy, but a symptom of a system that is failing the millions of hardworking people on poverty wages who make our clothes and grow our food. Yeah, and that goes back to people being on a subsistence wage. I'm going to go ahead and look that up. Subsistence. Yeah, so I'm going to go into this. So, subsistence theory of wages. Bear with me. Yes, the subsistence theory of wages advanced by David Ricardo and other classical economists was based on the population theory of Thomas Malthus. It held that the market price of labor would always tend towards the minimum required for subsistence. If the supply of labor increased, wages would fall. Yeah, and that's what you see around the world. The supply of labor, that's why the so-called white man is going into these different countries. And what does he say? I want to open up new markets, new trade markets. And really he wants accessible and unlimited supply of slaves. So it says if the supply of labor increased, wages would fall. Yeah, because when this devil goes into these countries, he obliterates the countries and then he brings in American companies to work there. And so the people, to survive, where do they have to work? They have to work for those American companies. So that's why your wages here in America go down, because there's such a term called outsourcing. So Esau, he'll outsource the job to a country that he just devastated, and he can pay them less. Okay, because the cost of living is significantly lower there. Why? Because he just devastated it. Okay. So then the subsistence wage, the minimum there will be what, 50 cents, whereas here it'll be what, 10 to 12 to $15 depending on the area of the country. If the supply of labor increased, wages would fall, eventually causing a decrease in the labor supply. If the wage rose above the subsistence level, population would increase until the larger labor force would again force wages down. Yeah, so it says if the supply of labor increased, wages would fall, eventually causing a decrease in the labor supply. Yeah, because then people would be like, hell no, I don't want to work. But see, people can't do that, man. People, they gotta work, man. Because Esau got it so on lock that if you do what he does, which is to cheat, steal, sell drugs, murder people for their resources, if you do that, he'll lock you up. Okay. So although people want to stop working because they know they're slaves, they can't. And people say that all the goddamn time, man. Oh, I'm just a slave. I'm a corporate slave. You know, people get sent to these other countries for work, and it'll be a beautiful country, but they don't even have no time to enjoy it. They work, and then they so just worn down. They just go to their hotel and drink the night away. All right, but that's what happens under the rulership of the so-called white man. Okay, this is Sirach 21:4. To terrify and do wrong will waste riches. Thus the house of proud men shall be made desolate. Yeah, and all of these elite banking families, they're proud. And all they do is terrify people and do wrong. Okay? And the Lord is taking their riches. And really all these riches, are eventually going to go to the nation of Israel. Okay? Where is that at? That's the dust. Bear with me. Yep. This is Job 27:16. Though he heap up silver as the dust and prepare raiment as the clay, he may prepare it, but the just shall put it on, and the innocent shall divide the silver. And that's talking about the elect. So even though, you know, you got these richest 1%, they balling. Okay, they going down, man. And all the gold that you're heaping them to themselves, that's for us. Okay, you just keeping it warm for us. That's all. All right, and that's according to biblical prophecy. Okay, so I'm gonna read this again. The fortunes of the super rich increased by 762 billion in just 12 months to March 2017, which is enough to end extreme poverty 7 times over. 9 out of 10 of the world's 2,043 billionaires were men. Let me jump down. Salakia. The concentration of extreme wealth at the top is not a sign of a thriving economy, but a symptom of a system that is failing the millions of hardworking people on poverty wages who make our clothes and grow our food. Yeah, because people look at China and say, look, that's an emerging economy. But them Chinese, they're catching even more hell. Why? Because now they're on that subsistence wage. Okay. Okay, so they're catching they're taking in a very low wage, and it's because why? The labor supply is increased because of the goods that these idiots over here in Babylon require. Okay, they want a new Apple phone, they want a new laptop, they want this and they want that. And so for Moab, you know, the elites of Moab who have been set up by the so-called Jew any goddamn way, all right, for them to profit more, they got to put their people in more and even more slavery, man. So you might say, okay, yeah, they're an emerging economy, but that don't apply to tell that to them people in them factories that's committing suicide at a mass level, man. All right, with the so-called white man reaping even more riches to himself, and then he divides it to the sellouts of these different nations. That's bringing more hell to the common everyday person. Oxfam's executive director Winnie Byanyima blamed tax dodging as a major cause of global inequality and urged leaders to crack down on tax havens and inject money into education, healthcare, and jobs for young people. Yeah, because they get tax breaks when they go over to these other countries, because these other countries, you know, they're suffering from industry, and so they'll make a deal with the so-called white man over here, and even different states. That's why these NFL franchises, they'll have the taxpayers on the bill, on the hook for the bill to create stadiums, man. Okay, and it's the same thing on a higher level when you go into these different countries. So the U.S. will say, well, yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll set up in your country, but you gotta. This is provided that we don't have to pay taxes for like 3 years or 5 years. Okay, and all that does is just bring more hell on the people of that land, because then, you know, the leaders of the country, they get all excited, and then they have to mobilize a workforce, man. It revealed, and it's not in a lot of these other countries. It ain't like here in America where they have all these different watch groups and, you know, they got unions. Nah, man, it don't go down like that in most of these countries. If a lot of these countries, you try to create a union, you get put to death, man. It reveals how our economies are rewarding wealth rather than the hard work of millions of people, Byanyima told Reuters, adding the few at the top get richer and richer and the millions at the bottom are trapped in poverty wages. That's it, man. And that's the way of the world, man, under the so-called white man. Okay, This is Sirach 10 and 30. The poor man is honored for his skill, and the rich man is honored for his riches. Yeah, and that's why everybody honors the so-called white man, because you got idiots that think that they can get on that billionaire level, not knowing that they gotta sell their soul, man. Well, and some don't know, but a lot of people, they're catching on to that, and they have no problem with that, being a complete demon in order to gain access to money, which ain't even really money, man. It's just fiat money. He that is honored in poverty, how much more in riches? And he that is dishonorable in riches, how much more in poverty? Yeah, and this devil is dishonorable in riches, and everybody's catching on to it, man. Complete scumbag. They say, yeah, he could feed all the homeless. Okay, he could end poverty, but he doesn't want to because he's a demon, man. And then when he gets in poverty, all these nations are going to come up against his ass. This is Sirach 10 and 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. And that's the time that we're coming into, man, where the kingdom is going to be translated to the nation of Israel. This is James 5 and 1. Go to now, ye rich men. You rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Yeah, so miseries are coming upon you so-called white people, man. Because you're the rich. You're the rich in this realm, okay, in this eon. All right, you're ruling, and you're ruling and it's to the detriment and devastation of the majority of the earth's population. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. You have heaped treasure together for the last days, and you've reaped those treasures to do what? To give it to the innocent. All right, which is talking about the nation of Israel, starting with the elect. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth. Yeah, everybody is crying out, man. That's why when you read it, I believe it's the book of Job, it says, every hand of the wicked shall come upon him, which when you look that word up, it's laborers. Okay, because all of these so-called third world country workers have one thing in common, man. The oppression at the hands of the so-called white man. And you have all types of these movements of people to come together to fight for better wages. And eventually it's going to tip over, man. Because all these people are crying out. And the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, the Lord of armies. You have lived in pleasure on the earth and been wanton. You have nourished your hearts as in a day of slaughter. Yeah, and they've been undisciplined, okay? And now it's time that they get taken out of power, man. Because it's being made plain that this global economy is detrimental to the majority of the people, man. And it's only, as you can see in the article, it's only getting worse, man. The income gap is only getting worse. All right, this is Sirach 13 and 3. The rich man have done wrong, and yet he threateneth withal. The poor is wronged, and he must entreat also. Yeah, the poor is wrong, and he must entreat also. Why? Because there's an unlimited supply of labor forces, man. Okay, you go to the so-called white man and complain, he'll just fire you and be like, look, I'll get somebody else to come up whose family is starving. Okay, and they'll be an even better slave and do it with a smile on their face, man. Verse 4, if thou be for his profit, he will use thee, but if thou have nothing, he will forsake thee. And that's what the so-called white man does. You get used and abused. All right, you work till you're 55, back broke. Okay, and then you die. All right, you get cancer. Verse 5, if thou have anything, he will live with thee. Yea, he will make thee bear and will not be sorry for it. Yeah, and this devil does not care at all about these people working 12, 14, 16-hour days around the world. All right, and they got all types of injuries. Okay, their mind is all messed up. If he have need of thee, he will deceive thee and smile upon thee and put thee in hope. He will speak thee fair and say, what wantest thou? Yeah, and that's what he does to these puppet leaders, man. He smiles on them, deceives them, makes them think that it's going to be all right. Because eventually he turns on them, man. Because what happens is it gets so bad, the people with that land, they turn on the leader. And then the leader goes to help from the so-called white man. He don't provide no help. Okay, he'll take you down and put somebody else in there. Okay, and take the little riches that he imparted unto you back. But yeah, let me go ahead and get this in Sirach 31 and I'll start at the top. Watching for riches consumeth the flesh, and the care thereof driveth away sleep. Yeah, all these people who work on Wall Street. Those are the most bugged out people, man. Investors, day traders, they be bugged out, man. So I've had to train some of them. Why? Because they gotta, especially here in California, they gotta wake up super early and check all the markets because everything's based on the East Coast time. All right, they drinking all types of, smelling like coffee and cheap, just cheap cologne. Nasty people, man. They drive away sleep, man. They only get 3-4 hours, which that's not good for your body. Watching care will not let a man slumber, as a sore disease breaketh sleep. The rich have great labor in gathering riches together, and when he resteth, he is filled with his delicates. The poor laboreth in his poor state, and when he leaveth off, he is still needy. Hey, this is a prime example. They laboring in a poor state, and they're still needy. That's why people are taking up 2-3 jobs. All right. He that loveth gold shall not be justified, and he that falleth of corruption shall have enough thereof. Gold hath been the ruin of many, and their destruction was present. It is a stumbling block unto them that sacrifice unto it, and every fool shall be taken therewith. Yeah, and so this devil is going to be taken in his lust for gold and his lust for riches. And ultimately his lust for control over one's soul. It is a stumbling block unto them that sacrifice unto it, and every fool shall be taken therewith. Blessed is the rich that is found without blemish, and have not gone after gold. Who is he? And we will call him blessed, for wonderful things have he done among his people. Yeah, so yeah, that man who gets it just by being patient, okay, and not being a scumbag, low-life dirtbag. Which that's how you get rich in this world. By being a dirtbag. And that's standard business practice. Running off with the plug. Okay, sacrificing your business partner that you came up with. Getting it, yeah, y'all get in a bind and you snitch on him. These are standard business practices, man. And nobody will look at you no type of way because of it, man. But that's what people do in order to get to this richest 1%, which the majority of these people, they don't know. These richest 1%, man, they're all tied in. Going back to Illuminati bloodlines. You can't just bust up in there. Yeah, you from the projects in Flint, Michigan, and you think you're gonna be the next billionaire, and you doing the most to try to get in that position and get amongst these people. Okay, selling your soul, and you'll never get to that point. Your best bet is waiting for the manifestation of the kingdom of heaven here on earth, man. All right, serving Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, because that's true riches. Okay, so if that was edifying, call Allah Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, and death to these international bankers. You're being exposed left and right. And this place is going to be destroyed by nuclear missiles. I'm talking about America. Shalom to the elect.